Now, we have seen a lot of good practice examples, and we have also asked you to think about if you could add some more good practice example. Could you give us some highlights from your experience? What more to learn from?
I was working for...
Okay.
I was working in Egypt in 6 years with coastal planning, and the job was to get 4 ministries to work together. And originally the time schedule was about 1.5 years. I had 1.5 years, but I managed to extend it for many times. And finally, I think these ministries, they went together and created one entity through which all coastal projects should be approved. So this was one, I think, one achievement. I don't know what is happening now, but in Egypt, but this was implemented and legalized.
So cooperation across sector, across ministries.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Yeah, Per?
Well, I must admit that I don't have any real good integrated coastal management projects, because all I can remember of lacks some of the integration. The integration between, well, we have in Denmark some stakeholders, but not all. We have tried to make some meetings with the NGOs, one of them representing 70 different kind of recreational use of the coastal zone, and they've told us you cannot get a straight answer for us what we would like to have on this part of the coast, because we have 70 different kind of opinions, and that's something we have to tackle, and that's why I think we haven't been able to make a real integrated coastal zone management project yet in Denmark. So
but I think you also mentioned in the break that you have been attending Citizen Summit.
Yeah.
Also, how to find out, give priority from the citizens' perspective.
Yes.
So that could be one methodology to use. How to handle multi-stakeholder involvement. On the one hand, you have all interests together. On the other hand, they might have quite different interests.
Yeah, because I believe in the idea that also had been mentioned beforehand today, that by involving the stakeholders from the very beginning, then you get a lot of acceptance of the outcome. As I remember the environmental agency in UK saying that before they had the DAT principle, the decide and defend system, that they decided what to do and then they defended their decision, and now they have a stakeholder approach instead. Yes. And they think it's a very much more acceptable way that you involve the stakeholders from the beginning, as they plan here in Korsør, to invite the stakeholders into a meeting saying, well, there are these problems, how should we solve them together? So
an experience is to go from this command, and then, as Germans call, Akzeptanzregulierung, afterwards. You try to, let's say, identify the crisis or the potential crisis at the very early stage and then try to solve them. Maybe you could contribute with some examples.
Well, and a message I wanted to give was try to make use of the existing planning processes as much as possible. For instance, in Flanders, we do not have a tradition of making an ICZM plan for the whole coast, or not even for a municipality as such. And a few years ago, we ended the project Climar, and there what we tried to do was make, you could say, a climate change adaptation plan, but we made it for different sectors. For instance, we made one for coastal safety, we made one for fisheries, we made one for housing, etc. And we tried to take care of the adaptation component and also of the integration component on the level of the measures. So when thinking out a measure for each of these sectors, try to see what's the advantage or disadvantage of the other sectors. And this way we could make use of the planning processes which are different in timing and in size for each of these sectors, and not try to make the plan, which would make it too long and too complex.
Okay, yes. And you have a...
I have an example from 2003 I was part of, which is Denmark is called Teknologirådet. And we made 2 workshops, and actually we chose sea level rise as the topic because it's something, as I think you said, that you can actually see. And we had workshops where we invited stakeholders in Næstved and in Esbjerg. And the interesting part of it was that we had some scenarios that we presented, but we had no conclusions. We just asked them, how do you want administration to continue deciding how to use the land? And the big surprise was that in some areas they were actually interested in giving up land to let the dynamic processes prevail. And that was a surprise to us. And I think that's an experience that could be used also in other examples, like the meeting we are going to have in Slagelse next week.